Hello all, welcome to Aifer Exclusive. Today we are going to discuss some questions from Research Aptitude. You know, Research Aptitude is one of the important topic in UGC NET exam. So let's see what are the questions. These questions were from last UGC NET exam. It was 2020 June. Okay, this is the first question. In which method of research the independent variable is manipulated to observe and measure its effect on dependent variable? You know, while we are answering the questions from UGC NET exam, you should focus on key terms in the question. Here, what are the key terms? Let's see. In which method of research the independent variable is manipulated? Here the key term is manipulated. While we are doing a research, the researcher might manipulate the independent variable or select the independent variable. Here asking about manipulation of the independent variable. So the independent variable is manipulated to observe and measure its effect on dependent variable. Which research method is? Here there are four options: ex post facto method, experimental method, case study method, historical method. At first, we can eliminate two options from here, case study method and historical method, because these two are qualitative research. These two are the types of qualitative research. In qualitative research, there will not be independent variable and dependent variable. So let's eliminate these two types. Then ex post facto method and experimental method. Which one should be the answer? What are the difference between ex post facto method and experimental method? Basically, these two are conducting to measure the effect of independent variable on dependent variable. But the difference is, in experimental method, the independent variable should be manipulated, while in ex post facto method, the independent variable should be selected. This is the basic difference between ex post facto method and experimental method. Let's take an example here for better understanding. For experimental method, a researcher trying to measure the effect of a drug on memory. Okay, effect of a drug on memory. Here the independent variable is drug and dependent variable will be memory. So here the researcher should manipulate the drug, which means the researcher will give drug for some participants for experimental group, and a researcher will not give drug for control group. It is the meaning of manipulation. And let's take an example for ex post facto method. For ex post facto method, a researcher will select the participant based on already existing factor. For example, based on gender, the researcher will select participants. Based on gender means the researcher will select some male participant and the researcher will select some female participants also, and will compare two different groups. It is the ex post facto method research, which means based on an existing factor, a researcher will choose or will select the participants and compare the difference between these two groups. So I hope you understand the difference between ex post facto method and experimental method. So what would be the answer here? Here asking about the independent variable is manipulated to observe and measure its effect on dependent variable. So as we know, the answer would be experimental method. Okay, in experimental method, the researcher will manipulate the independent variable to measure the effect of independent variable on dependent variable. Okay, so let's see next question. This question also related to what we have discussed now. So let's read. In which research design the independent variable is selected rather than manipulated? The opposite of the first one. In first question asking about which one is manipulated, but here asking about which one is selected. Okay, so what would be the answer? We have just discussed now. Here there are four options: experimental research design, historical research design, ex post facto research design, and descriptive survey design. Here just a spelling mistake, ex post facto method. So what would be the answer? Based on our discussion, you can understand the answer would be ex post facto research, because here asking about which type of research methods the independent variable is selected. Okay, the independent variable is selected rather than manipulated. So the answer would be ex post facto method, ex post facto research design. So let's see next question. This is a different kind of question. In which of the following there is considerable scope for violation of research ethics? This is related to research ethics. You know what is the research ethics and what are the important factors in research ethics and so on. So let's see what are the options here. First one is problem formulation, data interpretation, hypothesis making, report of research result using research tools prepared by others. Here there are some steps in research. In which steps we should consider the research ethics? It is a question asking here. You know, problem identification and problem formulation is the first steps of research. There is no ethics in problem formulation. You know, we can choose any problem based on our interest and based on scope and so on. So there is no ethics in problem formulation. So we should eliminate the problem formulation. Then the second one is data interpretation. How we interpret the data? While we are interpreting the data, our biases might be affect the result. Okay, so here there should consider the ethics. We should consider the ethics. As a researcher, while we are interpreting a result, it should not be biased. So here the violation of research ethics is considerable one. So let's tick here. Then the next one is hypothesis making. Like problem formulation, in hypothesis making also there is no research ethics and there is no violation of research ethics and so on. So let's eliminate that one also. Then reporting of research result. You know, in data interpretation there should be the research ethics violation. There might be the violation of research ethics. Likewise, in reporting of research result, in this step also there is a scope for violation of ethics, because while we are reporting a result, the researcher should keep ethics. The researcher should not report the fake reports. Okay, that's why in this step also the research ethics should be considered. So here also tick. Then the next one is using research tools prepared by others. While we are using a research tool prepared by others, we should not use these tools without the permission. If we use without permission, it should be the violation of research ethics. That's why that one also the considerable one. So here option 2, 4 and 5 would be the correct answer. Here 2, 4 and 5. The C is the correct answer. Okay. The question is in which of the following there is considerable scope for violation of research ethics? The options are problem formulation. In problem formulation, there will not be the violation of ethics, and in data interpretation, in reporting of research result, and using research tools prepared by others. These three steps, in these three steps, there is considerable scope for violation of research ethics. Okay, then the next question is, in which of the following methods of research hypotheses are usually implied rather than being explicit? Here the key terms are hypotheses are usually implied rather than explicit. Okay, in some kind of research the hypothesis should be explicit, especially in quantitative research. There would be a explicit hypothesis, while in qualitative research there should not be a explicited hypothesis, but there might be implied one. So let's see what are the options here. First one is descriptive survey method, then historical method, experimental method, and ex post facto method. Here just look at these four types: descriptive survey method, and experimental method, and ex post facto method. These three methods comes under quantitative research. But here asking about hypotheses are usually implied. As we said, now in qualitative research only hypotheses are usually implied rather than being explicit. So here only one of the method is from qualitative research, that is historical method. So the answer would be the historical method. Then the next question is, the research from which will be an appropriate fit for improving efficacy of formative assessment would be. Here there are four options: fundamental research, applied research, action research, and ethnographic research. What is the meaning of the question? Here asking about for improving efficacy of formative assessment. It is something related to school situation. You know, in school situation the teachers may use formative assessment. To improving formative assessment, the efficacy of formative assessment, which type of research should be done? That is the question. It is a direct question. Most probably in UGC NET exam, one question mostly would be from action research or would be related to action research. So here question asking about improving efficacy of formative assessment, it would be action research. Mostly some research related to school situation, or some research related to organizational structure. This type of research would be related to action research. Then what is the fundamental research, and what is the applied research, and so on? The fundamental research is a basic research. It is mostly related to theory building and so on. Then what is applied research? Applied research is the application level of the fundamental research. There would be more theories and more fundamental researches. Based on that research, the researcher should doing research. Based on those fundamental research, a researcher doing or researcher conducting the application level of the fundamental research. That is applied research. Then what is action research? Action research most probably conducting in school situation or organization situation for improving some kind, for improving efficacy of the employment, for decreasing the absenteeism of the employee, and such kind of research. Then ethnographic research is a type of qualitative research, conducting a research to explore or to understand deeply an ethnic group. That is the meaning of ethnographic research. So whatever it is, here the answer would be action research. The action research is conducting for improving efficacy of formative assessment. Okay, I hope you understood these 5 questions. If you have any doubt, you can chat we will clarify your doubt to inbox. Okay, so let's see again. Thank you.